All right, hello, I'm Douglas Johnson, and welcome to this little day tripping vlog I'm going to be doing here. I thought I'd do this because, well, really don't have anything else to do. I'm trying to host a YouTube channel to encourage people to take the LA Metro and go out and travel around their neighborhoods. And COVID-19 came, and the whole country's kind of shut down. They're encouraging us not to go outside. They're asking us to shelter in place. And if we do go out, we got a new word in our lexicon, which is social distancing, which means when we do go outside, don't get any closer to, don't get near each other. Stay at least 6 feet apart. If you want to know what 6 feet is, if you're curious, like how far is 6 feet? Well, generally all you got to do is hold your arms out. And that's more or less 6 feet. If you can touch each other, you're too close. So, so yeah, social distancing, sheltering in place. So those things, they don't really help when you're trying to do an outdoor video or outdoor travel videos. So I thought I would share a story of isolation due to a disease that I heard from my grandmother. I was talking to my grandmother. She's 92 years old, and needless to say, she is not going outside. She is staying inside her house, and nobody is coming to see her. She's getting deliveries dropped off at her doorstep, and she's staying healthy and staying clean. But I had a nice long phone conversation with her, and she started telling me about her sister. Her sister Mary, who, when she was 8 years old, and this would have been in 1934 or 1935, Mary contracted polio, and she had to be taken away from the home and put into a hospital. And they lived in New York, and at the time, the hospital, there was a communicable disease hospital called the Willard Parker Hospital, which, if I got my information, which I've written right here, it was down on East 16th Street along the East River. I think it was taken down in 1958. My grandmother's sister was taken away with polio, put into the hospital, and she was completely quarantined. They use the word quarantine today. We're being told to quarantine, shelter in place, stay inside. And, how does that really affect us? So this story, I'm thinking. So get back on track. So how does quarantine really affect us today? As opposed to my grandmother's sister, who was put into a quarantine with polio. And, well, that quarantine she was locked in a room with a glass window, and even her parents couldn't go into the room. So my grandmother told me that she'd be home because she wasn't allowed to go to the hospital. And her parents would come home, and both her parents would be crying. And it really upset her because she said she'd never remembered her parents, or her dad especially, crying. But think about it. Today in our quarantine, we've got computers, we've got YouTube. Not only that, we've got Netflix, we've got Hulu, Disney Plus. How many streaming services do we have? We've also got, Facebook, Twitter, all sorts of we can text, we can get our phones, and we can have phone conversations with people, and everybody's home working from home now. What we consider quarantine now isn't really the same as what quarantine was back then. She was 8 years old. She was locked in a room. Her parents weren't allowed to come in and touch her and comfort her. And according to my grandmother, she really didn't have anything to do. There were a couple of books. They said they didn't want to give her books because they didn't know in the 30s, from what I read, they still had no idea how polio was passed around. So she was basically just left alone in a room all day to do nothing for almost a year. Now, lock yourself in your room, turn off your computer, get rid of your phone, get rid of your TV, and get rid of your radio, and just have somebody come in and visit you every now and then, and stick a thermometer in your mouth, take your pulse, and walk away, and try to do that for a year. See how you do it. And yeah, I don't know how people would do that back then without going a little crazy. Now, growing up, my Aunt Mary, she was always the trickster. She was the one. Whenever there was a joke to be had or a joke to be done, she was the one who did it. As a kid, she would take us to the park and sit on the bench and watch the geese chase us around. And the term being goosed. Well, she would cackle like she found so much joy in watching these geese chase us around the park. I'm not going to say that was part of being locked up for a year as an 8-year-old, but how we have it so easy now. I'm hoping to. I interviewed a bunch of people who were living in Los Angeles during World War II, and they talk about the curfews, the air raid sirens, the blackouts, and again, we have TV and we have stuff like that. They just mostly had the radio. They just sat around playing cards. So yeah, whenever I think about complaining about being stuck inside, I really have to put it into perspective. It's really not that bad. We can do a lot today, and we can have a lot of social interaction while we're quarantined that people in the past just simply didn't have. And if you got sick in the past, the pandemics broke out all the time. I mean, there was the Spanish flu, then there was a smallpox epidemic, and then I think through the 40s into the 50s, polio. There was like 250,000 cases of polio in the United States that affected over 50,000 people. And my grandmother's sister, she was really lucky. She had no real physical scars from the whole thing. She did not have to go into the iron lung. So anyway, I just wanted to share this personal story that my grandmother told me. It's really relevant to the period of time we have going on today. And it really makes us appreciate everything that technology has allowed us to do in social interaction while we're going through this period of social isolation. We can talk over the phone, we can talk on the computers, and like with my 92-year-old grandmother, I can keep her safe, yet I can still interact with her and talk to her and make sure she's doing okay. And we don't have to sit around doing nothing for weeks on end because society would just go crazy, I think. But yeah, I hope everybody's staying safe out there. I'm always complaining that I don't have time, and now I've got all the time in the world. Well, for the next 2 weeks, I've got a ton of time, just no money. So I'm hoping to put together some more videos and share those interviews that I had about people that had to go through the curfews of the 1940s during World War II. And yeah, hopefully I'll get those out soon. And but everybody just stay safe, wash your hands. I encourage you to get outside a little bit, but keep that social distancing. And if you're sick, well, wear a mask, stay home. Let's get through this. Let's keep everybody healthy, and then we can get back to doing our thing and exploring the world around us. So until then, like I said, stay safe and be well.